The wind howled like wolves across the fjord, shrieking through the gaps in the wooden walls of the longhouse. Outside, the world was locked in ice, the sea frozen at its edges, the trees bowed beneath thick coats of snow. Inside, the flickering orange glow of a single hearth was all that kept the long night from swallowing the Viking village of Hrafsfjord. It was the heart of winter, Joel, the darkest time of the year, when the sun barely touched the horizon. Yet inside the longhouse, 50 souls slept without freezing, wrapped in warmth that came not only from wool and fur, but from tradition, ingenuity, and the heat of one another. Chapter 1, The Longhouse of Warmth. At the center of the settlement stood Bjorn Eiriksson's longhouse, a structure of oak and turf, its roof thick with sod and moss. The walls were insulated with mud and straw, a living barrier that trapped the precious warmth of fire and breath. Bjorn was a seasoned farmer and raider, his beard white as frost, his hands rough as pine bark. He had seen many winters, some so bitter that ravens froze mid-flight, and he knew well the secrets of surviving the cold. When the night fell, his family and kin gathered within. The livestock, goats, a few sheep, and even a calf, were brought inside too. Their heat filled the air, mingling with the scent of smoke, hay, and salted fish. "Let the beasts share our breath," Bjorn always said. "They give warmth now, as they give milk and meat later." The longhouse became a living furnace. Along both walls, wooden platforms served as benches by day and beds by night. Thick furs from bear and reindeer lay in piles, while woolen blankets spun by Bjorn's wife Astrid were stacked high. The children slept together beneath shared skins, their heads touching, their bodies curled like kittens. The elders lay closest to the fire pit, where embers glowed faintly even as the night deepened. Chapter 2, The Fire That Never Died. The Vikings knew better than to keep open flames burning while they slept. Fire could eat a home as fast as frost. Instead, Astrid kept a bed of embers alive under ash. Before sleeping, she would carefully cover the coals with a layer of dried moss and sand, leaving just enough air for them to smolder until dawn. In the morning, a single breath and a stick of birch bark would bring the fire roaring back to life. "Fire sleeps like we do," she told her youngest son, Leif, as she tucked him beneath a bearskin. "It must dream through the dark, then wake hungry." And so, the Vikings did not freeze. The warmth of their own bodies, trapped beneath layers of fur and wool, combined with a smoldering hearth and the breath of animals, turned the longhouse into a cocoon of life amid the ice. Chapter 3, The Secret of Heat Stones. But there was another trick, older than even Bjorn remembered. When the first snows fell, the men of the household would gather large river stones and place them near the fire. These stones absorbed heat during the day. Before sleeping, each family member would wrap one in cloth or wool and tuck it beneath their bedding. Leif called them sun rocks. He liked to hold them against his chest, pretending they held the warmth of summer sunlight. Even in the coldest hours, when frost rimed the beams above and the wind screamed across the fjord, those stones held their heat, a silent magic born of fire and stone. Chapter 4, The Breath of the Gods. Bjorn believed the gods themselves favored those who respected warmth. He would often tell tales of Loki stealing the flame from Muspelheim, or Freya wrapping the first cloak of fur around man, teaching him to survive the winter. Each night, before they slept, the family offered a small piece of bread or dried fish to the hearth, a gift to the spirits of fire and home. Without warmth, Bjorn would say, even a warrior's heart freezes. But with it, even the weakest child can see spring. The fire crackled softly in agreement. Chapter 5, A Night of the Great Storm. One winter night, the storm came, a blizzard so fierce it buried the door in snow and turned the world outside in nothing but white silence. The wind forced its way through every crack, making the torches flicker. The livestock stamped and bleated nervously. Astrid tightened her shawl and threw more peat on the fire. But even so, the cold found them. Bjorn rose, wrapped in his wolfskin cloak, and began to sing. It was a low chant, a song of warmth and courage, one his mother had sung during the great freeze of her youth. Astrid joined him, then the others, voices rising, breaths steaming in the cold air, until the longhouse echoed with their defiance. The sound seemed to push back the storm itself. They sang until their throats grew dry, then fell asleep in each other's arms, the fire glowing faintly beneath the ash, the animals huddled close. When morning came, the storm had passed. Outside, the world glittered in white silence. But inside, the longhouse was alive, steaming with warmth, filled with the scent of bread baking over the rekindled fire. Leif would remember that winter all his life. He grew into a man, sailed to distant lands, and built his own longhouse by the sea. But he never forgot what his father taught him. That warmth was not just fire. It was people, animals, and the cleverness of hands that built shelters from the bones of the earth. The Vikings did not have chimneys or blankets of down, nor could they summon heat at will. Yet they survived year after year, through winters that would kill an unprepared soul in hours. They used stone and turf, fire and fur, and, above all, each other. For warmth, in the Viking world, was not only a matter of survival, it was a matter of faith. Epilogue: the longhouse that still breathes. Centuries later, the ruins of Bjorn's longhouse still lie buried beneath grass and earth. But if you stand there on a winter night, when the wind roars down from the mountains and the stars burn cold above, you might feel something strange, a faint breath of warmth rising from the ground. Perhaps it is only the earth's memory. Or perhaps, as the old sagas whisper, the Vikings never truly froze, for they carried fire within their hearts, a flame that time itself could not extinguish.